Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Way of Life. I'm your host, Gus Holland. Today, I had the privilege of sitting down with Roger Lockridge, a freelance writer who has recently finished an amazing 4-week challenge for muscle and fitness. If you'd like to follow Roger on Instagram, you can follow him at Rock Lockridge, ROCKLOCKRIDGE. All other links, including the links to his recent muscle and fitness articles, will be in the description below. Now, let's get into it.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
That's good.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. You're a freelance writer. Is that what you would go by?
Yep.
Basically.
Yep. Freelance writer.
Okay. And you've been doing that for
14 years.
Really?
14. As a matter of fact, today is my 14-year anniversary of my first opportunity with bodybuilding.com.
Really? Okay. Well, Congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Bodybuilding.com is actually where I started. As far as I guess the social media aspect of any sort of weightlifting or anything or connecting with others, that's where I started. So
yeah. Body Space.
Yep. Yeah. Body Space. I still have my account. So.
Now, I gave mine up a year and a half ago. They changed ownership 2 or 3 different times there.
Oh, I got you.
And at one point, their entire content department got let go. And
really?
I mean, I was never even told I wasn't with them anymore. They just stopped reaching out to me.
Okay.
So I just kind of let it go. But I was with them from 2009 till 2021. And that was their, for lack of a better phrase, that was their peak. That was when they were at the peak of their powers. That's when they were the monster.
Yeah.
They were the Jeopardy answers and the Wheel of Fortune puzzles. And, mainstream pop culture was very aware of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's crazy. I didn't know they had swapped hands so many times. I knew there was at least one buyout or whatever. And I kind of just had an account primarily towards the beginning, I was pretty active in the forums. And then I kind of just transitioned to just using it to track stats and stuff like that. So,
right. Yeah, I did for the same reasons. And actually, you want to talk a little bit about my freelance writing part of it. So if you want, we can save that for the actual show. But because that's actually a pretty integral part of it. But pretty much long story short, that's kind of where my following initially started. And that's when they became aware of me.
Okay.
And upon the invite to try to submit an article, it was just boom, off to the races. Like it took off like wildfire.
Okay.
And, then one thing led to another.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. Yeah, we'll get back to that. But so recently you just finished your 4 weeks of I guess you would call the competition or the challenge lifting like Arnold for 4 weeks. Yeah. So, could you give a quick rundown of what exactly that was? I followed your articles, but some of the listeners haven't,
Oh, then, that's fine. I understand that a lot of people missed out on this. And there was some mystery behind it. So I get that. So the Train Like Arnold Challenge is what's been called by Muscle and Fitness and a couple of other people. And I just kind of picked up the name too. When Arnold Schwarzenegger was the reigning Mr. Olympia,
yes,
he did what was called a double split training program, which means he trained twice a day, doing a full workout that most people would consider just a 1-a-day thing. So for example, on a Monday, he would do chest and back with supersets and trisets and even drop sets at times. And then he'd come back in the evening and do legs. That would be his Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. On Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, he would do shoulders first thing in the morning, and then he would come back and he would do arms and abs. And then there was other calf and ab workouts that were done every single day. This was how he used the time to get ready for the Mr. Olympia, because back in those days, instead of trying to shrink down and lose weight, he was actually trying to get up in size. The most famous example is when he was filming Stay Hungry, he had to get down to 210 pounds for that role. Well, he competed at 235 or 240. So he would use this training to kind of help him gain his size back in a quick amount of time.
Yeah.
He had submitted one of these chest and back superset workouts as a part of a newsletter and a free ebook that came with a subscription. I had seen it and wanted to try it for an article on Muscle Fitness because I had read about him for years. Yeah. But this is the first time I'd actually thought about actually doing it for some form of content. And my editor at Muscle Fitness had thought, well, maybe it feels better if you did it for like once a week for a month or twice a week for a month. That way we have an extended phase and we can see what actual kind of difference it makes. I'd agreed. And because of my work as a writer, I've talked to Arnold a couple of times, and I know a couple of members of his team. So I reached out to him just to say, hey, I want to make you aware of this in case somebody sends something to you. I'm going to try this for a month. And at first, one of the messages I got was, please don't die.
Yeah.
Because they thought it was how intense it was.
Yeah.
Well, after I survived doing that first workout, one of his team people were like, we could just send you the full program and just see how it goes. Maybe do something like once a week for a month or whatever. So I figured out later on that the program was actually in one of his books.
Okay.
And I already had the book. So I already had the program. So once we verified that, I'm going through it and I'm trying to plan out how my life is going to look for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And one of his team members texted me and said, by the way, Arnold said to remind you that he did this 2 hours a day, twice a day. I'm like, that's the double split. And he was like, yeah, he's talking about the double split.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, did Arnold actually just call me out for this?
Yeah.
Now, in particular, no, he didn't. But when we were talking about it, my wife, I was telling her about this conversation and she was like, you could do it. No, I'm not sure what this takes. Like, that's 2 hours a day, twice a day. I'd be training 24 hours a week. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, I think you can do it. Well, when your wife plays your man card, you got to go ahead and just call it.
Yeah.
So, his teamwork was kind of like, that'd be crazy to see if someone could do it or to see how long you would last. So we agreed that I would try for a month, or if something happened and I didn't last, then we would just see how long I could go. And that was it. We're off to the races. And the unique challenge for me was I'm not in Gold's Gym Venice, and I'm not training along world-class bodybuilders. I'm by myself in my barn in my home gym here in West Virginia. Yeah. And the closest thing I have to a training partner is my dog who's out in the yard barking when the mail runs.
Yeah.
So, that was a pretty unique challenge because it's winter here in West Virginia and my barn isn't heated. So there were times I was training in 30, 35 degree weather and I don't have a spotter and I'm in there alone. And it was something like I never experienced before.
Yeah.
To push myself through something like that, but that's pretty much how it kicked off.
Okay. Yeah, I followed you pretty closely on Instagram, like your stories. I remember you posting like your thermometer in your barn. It was like at 30 degrees, and I was like, oh my god, like that sucks, man. But well, I mean that kind of honestly made it even more impressive. I mean, you did it, but not only did you do it, but you had those obstacles, the weather and not having a spotter, stuff like that. So that's crazy.
Yeah. I was able to set up my squat rack in ways to where I was safe. So it's not like in a particular situation, like if I got stuck on a rep on incline, I could just dump it on the safeties and I could walk away. I wouldn't get hurt. And one of the exercises I would have in some workouts, I would compromise. Like, for example, instead of flat barbell bench where I could easily get pinned if I got stuck, I would do flat dumbbell. That way I could drop them.
Okay.
So, there were safety measures taken. And Arnold had said, even from the jump, when he actually posted it in a tweet on Twitter, look, be safe. Don't put yourself in a position to get hurt, but keep pumping. Let's see if you can do it.
Yeah.
And, things like that certainly helped along the way with this. But, yeah, posting the thermometer pics and, even letting my beard grow out during that entire month because I wanted to show as much transparency as I could with this.
Yeah.
I wanted to show this was legit. Jess, I'm sure you've seen in some of the before and after pictures of these transformations, all of a sudden the guy is clean shaved. His body is shaved. He's tan. And it's like, oh, it's just the lighting's different. And all they did was just move the cameras around a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly.
I didn't want people to think that about this. I want them to know I legitimately went through what, for lack of a better phrase, 4 weeks of hell.
Yeah.
To get whatever results I got out of this. So I was posting the good lifts, the bad lifts. You probably saw in one of my stories, I had tried to get 225 for 20 on squats.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the first time I did it, I realized I didn't get close to parallel.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, nope, that was a fail.
Yeah.
So sorry guys, we'll try it again down the road. On the last day of the last leg workout, I finally did get it to a level that I was proud of.
Yeah.
But, to show all that, I wanted to kind of give the person following along or the reader through Muscle and Fitness the best opportunity possible to feel like they're a part of it, or they at least get an insight into what this was looking like.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you did a good job of that for sure. At least, as far as I can tell. So, what, I guess what was the biggest difference that you noticed in yourself before and after? Was it more strength or a weight difference, or maybe even just determination or something,
I could rank all three of those almost near equal. I will talk about the weight loss first.
Okay.
My goal was to lose 20 pounds in a month. To kind of give a little bit of a backstory, I kind of put my own physical fitness aspirations on the back burner. Professionally, I was dealing with a lot of stuff at once. Personally, my wife was dealing with numerous health issues, and it turned out that she had endometrial cancer. Okay. She's a survivor. She's cancer-free now, so that had a happy ending. But in the meantime, I kind of let myself go. And I probably shouldn't have, because of my role I have in the business, but at the same time, life happens. And look, I'm a writer. I'm not an athlete.
Yeah.
Well, there had been something kind of scratching in the back of my head that, I kind of wanted to find something to get myself going again. And this just kind of organically came out of nowhere, and this turned out to be it. So the physical part of it, instead of losing 20, I lost 16 because I got sick at the end. I got a cold, and I was holding water, and I didn't want to do a direct or anything like that because, again, the transparency part of this.
Yeah.
And just so in case anybody has any questions about it, no PEDs, no HGH, no testosterone therapy, no diuretics. Like, this was all me, all food, all supplements, all just mental rage taking out on weights.
Yeah.
But I lost 16 pounds and I dropped 2 pant sizes. Yeah. I would have never dreamed I'd have got stronger, but I actually did get stronger on several lifts. The most notable one, incline bench. The chest and back workouts out there, so I could talk about it. You start with pull-ups and you superset with incline.
Okay.
And the first time I had done this, I had only got 225 for 6 reps, and that was barely walking out the 6th rep. On the last chest and back superset workout, I got 255 for 6.
Okay.
And
damn,
I could have probably got 260 for 6 if I would have thrown those 2.5s on there.
Yeah.
So I actually got significantly stronger on that. On the squats, I hadn't squatted in 6 months before that, just because I'm not a power lifter. I'm not training for a bodybuilding show. I would train legs, but why put something on your back if you don't have to?
Yeah.
Or at least that was my mindset at the time. So the first time I got back under a squat bar, 185 for 15 was absolutely maxing me out because, again, I'm not used to feeling that pressure, and I was training in the cold and all these other scenarios. Plus, I was supersetting squats with leg extensions. So going to leg extensions first, then getting under the squat bar. So what you saw, or what anybody saw that followed along on the Instagram video, was the 225 for 20. They didn't see me do the leg extensions with 100 pounds first.
Yeah.
So, and that's the part I actually, you're the first to actually hear that. I was supersetting between the two.
Yeah.
And I had to do the 100 for 12 reps first. Then I got under the bar for 225. I got it for the 15. I decided I was going to go for 20. I felt a little bit of a quad strain at the around the rep 15, 16 mark, but I got through it and I got that 20th rep, and that was the one I was the most proud of.
Yeah.
And then on pull-ups, I could barely do 2 or 3 when I first started this, and now I can knock out 7 or 8.
Okay.
At 255 pounds, I don't think that's bad.
No,
I could certainly do better, but I'll take it. And then speaking to the mental part of it, there's just, when you are in a position that you don't have a choice but to walk in and go, especially when you know there's people possibly around the world watching you, reading what you're doing, and people that are trying to hold you accountable. Because I was submitting logs to Arnold's team so I could verify, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it. They were getting real-time updates throughout each of these workouts, which probably drove them crazy, but they said they liked it. So I hope so. But I used to think of myself as someone that was pretty mentally strong, but this definitely tested it, and I think this took it to a new level.
Yeah.
Because like, now that I'm out of this, and it's been almost a week since, I'm actually kind of itching to get back to a grind and to get back to doing something.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing I'll take away from it personally most is the mental, the mental benefits I get from it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That, I mean, you kind of get a high from it, but just like in general, that overcoming of like adversity, like
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole different feeling than even like I guess that is the feeling you get when you max something out, you get a new PR and you get,
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix of adrenaline and a bunch of other emotions. So it's,
it's imagine going through an all-time squat PR and then magnify that by 12 because I was doing 12 workouts a week, and then magnify that by 4 because I did this for a month. Like there were people that did not think I was going to last a week.
Yeah.
And then after 2 weeks, it was like, okay, he's going to probably crack at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and say it was perfect. There was a couple mistakes I'd made along the way, and because of my background with my personal issues, I was a survivor of childhood domestic violence. I dealt with a lot of bullying in school. At one point I was homeless and unemployed. There are times I could suffer from a lack of self-confidence, which I wrote about in one of the articles.
Yeah.
But that can either be a blessing or a curse. And one of the things I also say is in every form of adversity, there's an opportunity. Yeah. So a lot of this adversity I was dealing with, it was just a matter of trying to find that opportunity and capitalizing on it. Because by the time we got near the end of this thing, which you saw as you was following along on the stories, it was kind of something that became bigger than just a dude trying to lift weights.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was, to call it a challenge is almost feels like you're diminishing it a little bit because of how much went into it, like, I guess what was your motivation to, I guess, originally start it, and then what kind of helped you motivate throughout? I mean, I know probably reflecting on previous stuff you've already overcome, like you said, but
well, the motivation from it initially was this was an organic opportunity that literally just fell in my lap. I mean, if somebody was to try to organize a train like Arnold challenge like this, to do the workouts like he did for pumping iron and things like that, you would imagine it'd be somebody like a world-class bodybuilder or a powerlifter or some type of much bigger name in this business than me.
Yeah.
But the fact that this literally came along the way it did, I kind of took it up on my own. It evolved into what this is. And then there were people that were saying that they believed in me.
Yeah.
If there's a guy to do it, I was the guy. That certainly served as the initial impetus for this. Yeah. Then to find out that Arnold was actually paying attention. Like my understanding is he was following along with a lot of social media stuff. If you look on some of the posts, you'll see bicep emojis. Some of my retweets on Twitter, he retweeted. He was actually watching this and seeing how it played out. And it was like, okay, I need to impress him. I may not get to talk to him. I don't know if that's going to happen. They say they want to. I want to. But if nothing else, I want them to tell him, oh my God, the son of a bitch survived.
Yeah.
And so each workout I got a little closer and a little closer and a little closer. Then it was kind of like, okay, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Don't let it be a freight train.
Yeah.
And that kind of carried me through some parts of it, but then there were other parts of it. Motivation's fleeting. It doesn't carry you very long. There's got to be a discipline. There's got to be a honor to stick to a commitment behind it. And I knew this was something that my 10-year-old son's going to look back on someday and see. And he was actually kind of watching along live as it happened.
Yeah.
I can't tell him to follow through on his commitments and to make sure that he does what he needs to do if I don't do the same. And there were other people involved in this. Editors at Muscle and Fitness. I was pretty much getting paid to do it. So for a month, I was a professional athlete. Arnold's team was watching. Some of the people at the Arnold Sports Festival was watching. I was getting messages from people around the planet on places I've only seen on the internet and TV, and they were telling me that I inspired them.
Yeah.
You kind of feel a responsibility with that. So it was a combination of all that kind of carried me through to the end.
Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting perspective. I knew I'd seen a couple bicep emojis and stuff. So I was already rooting for you, and I don't know you personally, to be judging whether or not like your success percentage of success possibility,
Right.
So I was like, man, I hope he does it. I hope he does. And then I was like, oh shit, look at that bicep emoji, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he's got it. He's got it. Cause
it's
with that behind you, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of momentum. I'll tell you what, and about the 2-week mark, I'm getting near the end of the second week. I'm texting with some of his team, and I'm like, do y'all know anybody that has done this to this level for this long? And they're like, outside of Arnold, no. Because I found out later on, even his training partners were splitting up with some of the workouts he was doing.
Oh, okay.
Like, for example, he would train with Franco Colombo in the mornings for chest and back, but Franco could already deadlift 700 pounds, squat 700 pounds. And when it came time to train legs, he would just do some squats and leg extensions and call it a day.
Yeah.
So Ed Corney was training with him for legs. If your listeners had ever seen Pumping Iron, Ed Corney doing the 11 reps on the squat with 315, that's the program I was doing.
Yeah.
So yes, Ed Corney went through my mind quite a bit throughout this process too, because every time I'm going down for that next squat, I'm hearing 2 more, no matter what. And,
yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's get it. That's the closest to a neural depression I'll ever do.
Yeah.
But just all that and having that kind of information behind you, it's like, I'm doing something that very few people have done. I've got to get this done. I've got to finish.
Yeah.
And there was the perspective of, I wanted to see how far I could push this 41-year-old body. I'm doing things at 41 that I hadn't done at 21. And there's been so many of these people talking about, oh, I did this in high school, or, people would brag about me getting this big lift back in the day. And I never wanted to be that guy. I want to be the guy that, well, here's what I'm doing now, and here's what I'm going to do in 3 months. Just because I've seen all the stereotypes, all the memes, and I just didn't want that to be applied to me. All of that into consideration, there was absolutely no way I was not going to finish. Either a muscle was going to tear, a bone was going to break, or this was getting done.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be, of course, everything got done. Outside of a little quad strain on my right quad that kind of bugged me for a few days. And of course, the DOMS that comes from doing 20, 25% workouts twice a day, 6 days a week. Outside of that, there was no other way I was not going to finish.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any particular methods or anything that was like possibly passed down by Arnold that to like overcome soreness, fatigue, any type of problems you'd run into, or did you just kind of tackle stuff how randomly?
The only thing he really told me was to take naps. Okay. And let me be clear, I guess a lot of these kind of came from his team, through his team members or whatever. I've yet to have a direct conversation with Arnold about this in particular. I've talked to him a few times, but not about this yet. Yeah. But he would send messages through his team to me, and the first one was, dude, take naps. Take naps between the workouts. You're going to absolutely need them.
Yeah.
Sleep is paramount if you're going to try to get this far with it. And then I would ask him what else he did for recovery, things like massages. I think in one outtake of Pumping Iron, he was doing acupuncture.
Yeah.
So I was doing things like the foam roller. My percussive gun got a ton of overtime. I have a TENS machine. I was doing the naps and lots of stretching because I needed that flexibility for the things like the dumbbell flies, the bent over barbell rows, because it wasn't just about doing the workouts.
Yeah.
I wanted to try to train like him. So there's some clips on Instagram of me doing the dumbbell flies, and instead of stopping at parallel, I'm going all the way back. Like I'm trying to get my elbows to touch the floor like he did. Instead of just doing the barbell rows inside the rack, I'm standing on the board and I'm picking the bar up off the floor like he did. And I probably studied so much of Pumping Iron footage. It was like watching game film for me because I wanted to make sure I matched as much as I could from this. But as far as like things directly from him, eat a lot, take naps, and then just, every now and then he would still send a reminder through his team, make sure he is staying safe. I don't want him to get hurt if possible. But then of course the last message I got from him was I'd asked his chief of staff, does he know that I survived? And he said, yes. And he was like, oh my God, he's crazy. He survived. He made it.
Yeah.
And, that was when I found out that at some point in this process, hopefully depending on schedules, we are going to have some type of conversation about this.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's the question I keep getting a lot is, when are you going to talk to Arnold about this? And
Yeah.
the answer is I don't know, but I do
Mhm.
know he wants to. And obviously I want to.
Yeah.
Because he's working on documentary stuff right now. Of course, the Arnold Classic is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So right now there is a lot on his plate, but
Yeah.
something will hopefully be happening in the near future, or if not anytime soon, hopefully I'll see him in Columbus.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So yeah, I knew you were going to Columbus. Are you going kind of for like in a personal sense, or are you going more of like a kind of like a media pass type of situation?
Oh, I'm going to work. It's
Okay.
going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm actually one of a handful of writers that covers both the strongman and the bodybuilding.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, last year I think I was the only writer that covered both the Arnold Strongman Classic and the Arnold Classic Bodybuilding Show.
Okay.
So I'm doing both of those again this year.
Mhm.
I'm planning on attending the Hall of Fame ceremony, and the World's Strongest Firefighter contest is a part of that as well. And I did a recap of that last year, and I'm going to actually be in attendance for it to cover it again this year.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. um,
That's a fun contest. If you get a chance to watch that live, I think it's going to be on his Facebook page.
okay.
If you get a chance to watch that live, or if your listeners get a chance, it's definitely worth it because it's an inspirational event. And this is the first time there's actually going to be women involved with it as well. So there's
Okay.
both men and women competitors.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try and catch that. I've never gotten to see that. I knew about it, but I had never seen it. So
Mm-hmm.
um so as in regards to the freelance writing, you said you've been doing it 14 years, and I was reading, I forgot what site, I think it was on LinkedIn, but it said you had written over 2,000 articles. Is that correct, or
It's
is it
actually
more?
over 2,600 now.
Yeah.
I'm closing in on somewhere near 3,000. And it's been like I told you before we had started. Today is my 14-year anniversary of getting signed to the first group I was writing for, which was bodybuilding.com. But today's my 14-year anniversary, so I'm going into year 15 doing this, and
That's crazy.
I've been doing it 7.5 years full time. So since 2015, this has been my full time gig.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
That's awesome. Now, I mean, not to get into it too deep or anything, but how does that work? Do you just hit up publications you'd like to write for and kind of give them like a resume type thing, or
That would be how most people would do it. I had the benefit of what I call dumb luck.
Oh yeah.
So I used to work for a home improvement store.
Okay.
And in 2008, I was on a delivery and a refrigerator came away from a truck. It toppled over. I separated my right shoulder.
Oh dang.
So I'm out of work and I'm unemployed. And because of my past mental issues I just talked about earlier, I was kind of getting down to dumps. I was getting depressed. So I had started writing a blog on bodybuilding.com's Body Space to kind of keep myself motivated when I was in those down moments. I could have something to go back to, read myself, and kind of pick myself up again.
Yeah.
I'm looking through the comments section of each of these blogs, which was on there back then, and I'm seeing people from all over the planet are posting positive reviews, comments. Man, this is great. Do you have any training tips too? So I'm throwing training tips in there because, people are asking for them. And it turned out one of the readers was a bodybuilding.com customer person. And it was like, you need to submit an article. Here's the link to apply to become a writer. And it was like, oh God, okay. Well, this person feels enough of an investment in the time to send me that link, then I'm going to at least try it. That way, either I'll get my 15 minutes of fame or I'm going to know something else I'm not good at. So I just wrote a motivational piece, submitted it, and I'm sure some of your listeners know the name Chris Gethin, who's a Cage Muscle now. That's his brand, but back then he was the editor-in-chief. He had read the article and he was like, "Can you do 2 a month for us?" What? Yeah, absolutely. And the deal was I would get store credit for supplements, shirts, whatever. In exchange, I would do the articles. The first 2 or 3 took off like wildfire. They just popped. And they're like, okay, we need to invest a little bit more in this kid, which I was in my late 20s at the time.
Yeah.
By the end of that year, they had named me Writer of the Year. That got me some attention on the local news. And because of that, they went ahead and converted me into a paid writer. And from there, Iron Man Magazine reposted one of my articles in an issue. Coincidentally enough, it was the quote unquote Arnold issue for 2010 of Iron Man. And I posted a thank you to them, and they came back to me and they were like, hey, if you're not exclusive to bodybuilding, can you write for us too? And bodybuilding was like, no, you're a freelancer. Go, do you. And that was kind of how it's happened over the years. Some editor sees what I do, asks if I'm available, and either I agree or I don't agree. And next thing you know, I'd built up enough of a portfolio that I realized I could do it for a full-time living. So in 2015, we closed on our house, and 3 months later, I quit my regular job and invested full-time into the writing. And 8 years later, here we are.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know you go through different, not phases, but I've noticed that you'll write for like Muscle and Fitness, and then you'll come over to a different publication and, kind of skip around like that. Is that what you normally do? Is kind of just one here, one there type thing, or?
Well, it's normally 1 or 2 or 3 at a time with all the different companies. I write for 7 different brands.
Okay.
And my articles are seen on 11 different websites. So pretty much the way it goes is if I see something is interesting and I know which site would be most likely to take it, I'll make the pitch to that editor. Or those editors will reach out to me and ask about covering a contest or doing a profile on someone. The one I'm probably most famous for is Muscle and Fitness. And I do their podcast recaps. I do a military column called Fit to Serve, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And then this whole Arnold thing with me kind of took that to a new level. Barbend.com, I cover all the major strength sports. I do bodybuilding coverage, strongman, powerlifting. I've even written some CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting articles. Okay. I've done some High Rocks coverage, which is fitness racing for those of your listeners that may not know that.
Okay.
I do things on fitness equipment for Garage Gym Reviews and Active.com. I do my own training content for muscleandstrength.com, and I interview people for Men's Health. BPI Sports, I'm a writer for them. I do supplement stuff or training stuff for the ambassadors. And then for Muscle Insider, which is based in Canada, I'm their senior writer, which means pretty much anything industry related that comes up that's newsworthy, I'll do something for them. So I could be writing anywhere from 2 to 5 articles per day, 6 days a week.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's crazy. That's a hectic.
That's the reason why I get over 2,600, because it just racks up that quick. It's volume.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering. Cause I was doing the math. I was like, roughly, we'll say 3,000 and, 14 years. It's a lot.
It's a pretty crazy clip. And it kind of just built up over time to where last year I did 600 alone.
Okay.
I'd done like 550 the previous year. Each of the last 3 years have been my most successful years. So 2020 was better, and then 2021 was even better than that, and then 22 was even better than that, and of course 23 I think we're off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that was perfect timing too. To knock that out in January when everybody's doing their resolutions and stuff like that.
That was actually a part of it for me. Because, like I said, I wanted to see how far I could push this 41-year-old body, and I wanted to see, where I could take it. Another part of this was the people that are reading this, they're probably far more capable than they realize of how they could push themselves. And now I'm not expecting people to drop everything they're doing and go train 2 hours a day or 2 hours of workout twice a day, 6 days a week. But what I am saying is they have probably got a goal or a dream in the back of their head, and they're afraid to pursue it because of the fear of failure.
Yeah.
And, they don't realize how capable they truly are. And I'm hoping that this kind of served as a way for them to possibly be like, if that guy's over 40 years old, technically middle-aged, excuse me, and he pushed himself to go to that level that a guy was doing in his late 20s for the Mr. Olympia in 1975, then, I could probably step my game up a bit. And, maybe that goal isn't so far out of reach.
Yeah.
And that's the feedback I've gotten from a few different people throughout this process is, man, I'm finally back in the gym. I'm finally getting after it again. I realize I've been lazy too long, or, no more excuses. This is the next goal. I'm going to lose 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Or I had someone tell me they had already lost 130 before they even saw what I was doing.
Yeah.
And now they want to see about building muscle, getting stronger, taking their physique to another level.
Mm-hmm.
So, that wasn't planned initially, but as long as it was one of the benefits, that was something I'd kind of also set my sights on was, I wonder how many people I can actually touch with this. Yeah. And, if it could organically kind of reach out and sprinkle and make a bigger difference, then, that's something that'll be far beyond me losing 16 pounds in a month.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's crazy. I mean, it's inspirational to say the least, but I mean, there's several layers to it, like the dedication, everything that you did, and even the balls to like try it out, accomplish it, and also eventually get in contact with Arnold's team. That's something to be proud of for sure.
So. Well, if I hadn't have already had contact with Arnold's team in the past for other things Arnold Classic related, I don't know if I would have reached out, but I figured they would have got a laugh out of the fact of, this guy's going to try the chest and back superset workout. Okay.
Yeah.
But then, for it to kind of evolve the way it evolved, and then it kind of became a thing for them too, okay, what's he going to do this week? What's he going to do next week? Is he actually going to get stronger? Mm-hmm. Or, is he going to finally tap? Is this it? I don't think they ever thought I would. Mm-hmm. I know they hoped I wouldn't. But that possibility was there just because of the risk that was going into this.
Yeah.
And all the other factors such as the temperature, training in the cold, the schedules. One of the things I'm most proud of is that, even with everything happening, if the family needed to go to the grocery store, if my son had an event or if things like that came up, I was still there. I could still be dad. I could still be husband. And that didn't get sacrificed. Yeah. Because, if my family was going to support me through this, then I was going to make sure I gave all I had for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. As far as you said, you did use some supplements. What'd you do? Just like whey protein or?
So I've been with BPI for a year now, and I've been friends with those guys for well over 10 years. Mm-hmm. So we linked up a year ago. I did a multivitamin, of course, which I just have a multivitamin from Walmart, wherever. I did their pre-workout, 1MR. For the second workout, I would use a non-stem pre-workout. So I was using their pump formula.
Okay.
Isohern whey protein, Mycohern's protein brand, their BPI. I use that. They have a muscle and joint fix for recovery, which was, again, something else that was big. The production of collagen probably helped me through this quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And it's probably the reason why my quad was a light strain and not something more serious.
Yeah.
I did their nighttime fat burner, night burn. It's got your raspberry ketones. It's got your melatonin, just to kind of help me get to sleep at night. Because believe it or not, even after that much training, your adrenaline does kind of get wired up after that second workout. So I needed something to kind of help bring me down.
Yeah.
So I could actually go to sleep and then hopefully stay asleep. And the BCAA shredded was their intra workout I used.
Okay.
I know essential amino acids are considered more popular and more effective for the muscle building benefits, but BCAAs are great for endurance. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to train 4 hours a day, endurance matters.
Yeah.
So I opted for the BCAAs, and they were BCAA shredded formula. I'm like Kamalo Garnier, the former 212 Olympia champion, when he talks about that stuff. I could drink it like soda. Like it's probably the best tasting intra-workout drink I have ever had.
Okay, nice.
So I had that for every single workout. I went through 2 complete bottles by the time this thing was over.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. I mean, it doesn't hurt, like can't really have too much if you're going through all that.
Right. And since you asked about the supplements, I'm going to do a quick plug. If anybody goes to BPI Sports website, if they use my code RL15, they'll save them some cash, and it will kind of help me too.
Cool. Okay. No, that's awesome. So now that that's complete, I know it won't hurt to have a little rest time and everything. Do you have any other challenges in mind for the future, or anything big that you're working on?
I actually just posted about this as we're recording this evening, so you're going to be one of the first to get this.
Okay.
Yeah, I got two short-term goals in mind. Number one of the things that was cool about the video series and the stuff on Muscle Fitness was we had talked about changing from flat barbell to flat dumbbell bench.
Mm-hmm.
I can make up to 125s in my home gym.
Okay.
But I got to the point that I could do them for 10 reps, even after all the other work I had done.
Yeah.
So there were people that have been kind of chirping at me. You need to try to get 150s. You need to try to do 150s.
Yeah.
So I've got some extended dumbbell handles coming next week. And if they get here, I'm going to try to load up 150s and I'm going to see what I can do with them.
Okay.
The long-term goal that I have is you had seen on the last squat workout, I got 225 for 20.
Mm-hmm.
I now have videos of me squatting 220, benching 220 or 225 for 20, and then trap bar pulling 225 for 20.
Okay.
So I am now going to give myself 3 months and I'm going to try to do all three of those in the same workout.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to do it.
Okay. That's
so it's going to be the powerlifting meet, like all three lifts.
Yeah.
Except a trap bar instead of a regular bar for the deadlifts.
Yeah.
But it's for 20 reps, all 225, and I'm going to give myself a half hour.
Okay.
I think that would be a cool little full body strength / endurance challenge for me.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a ton of people out there that could probably already do it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people I follow on Instagram are like the strongest and the best people on the planet. So comparing myself to them would be awful.
Yeah.
But, again, it's just something else I want to see if I can do it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a little fun for me to try to get stronger in those aspects. As long as I'm already back under a squat bar, I want to see what I can get out of it.
Yeah.
I need to work on my deadlift, and I think the trap bar would be a good way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to give myself until my 42nd birthday, which is June 29th.
Yeah.
And we'll see if I can do it.
Okay. Yeah. I've got faith in you, just especially after all that Arnold stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah. This is only going to be a 1 day thing. This ain't going to be a month-long thing, but I am going to share the process along the way. There may be somebody else that's looking to get stronger or improve their muscular endurance. And if I can provide some tips that may help them, then why not?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Thank you for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. I know you're obviously a busy man, but congrats on not only attempting, but conquering that challenge. That's crazy. I'm going to keep following up with you. The main thing for me, what was a big deal, was that, Muscle and Fitness is what magazine for the most part, I like in high school, junior high school, I was reading those all as much as I could. I'd be like begging, I didn't have a job or anything or any money. So I'd be begging, like on my birthday, I'm like, oh, can I get a Muscle and Fitness subscription, or can I get a, something like that, And,
same.
Yeah. And so that was a big deal, because to see that you're attempting the challenge was a big deal. And then on top of that, it was affiliated with Muscle and Fitness. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is awesome.
When I was a kid, I was 17 when I first started training in a health club. I'd lifted weights when I was 15, 16, but 17 was when I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do for a living.
Yeah.
Some way, shape, or form. There would be those issues of Muscle and Fitness. And one of the first ones I had seen was in early 1999. They had recapped the 1998 Olympia that Ronnie Coleman won his first one.
Yeah.
And I would see, and they had pictures of Arnold in a special feature. And it was just like, man, just to have my photos in a Muscle and Fitness someday, that would be a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, in 2023, the magazine is not what it used to be. They do one a year now, a special Olympia edition that you can only get at the Olympia. But, their website is still a powerful website, and Muscle and Fitness is iconic.
Yeah.
Like when you hear people talk about the token pop culture reference for fitness, the name that comes up is Muscle and Fitness.
Yeah.
So for this 17-year-old kid from West Virginia to be writing for Muscle and Fitness, to be training for Muscle and Fitness, and to be doing Arnold Schwarzenegger's workouts and writing about them for Muscle and Fitness for comparison, and to see those cover headers of me and Arnold side by side.
Yeah, where you're like you're flexing like that.
Both the bicep shots are the ones of me doing the incline curls.
Yeah.
There's literally, I could not think of a single thing that would top that.
Yeah.
I'm sure for the younger generation, it would be them and Chris Bumstead. But,
Yeah.
for my generation, or even for the people a little bit younger than me, Arnold was it.
Yeah.
And, the Arnold Classic is still a big freaking deal. So he's obviously still relevant even in 2023.
Yeah.
So for me to have one of the top, if not the top, fitness publication, the top ambassador for bodybuilding in the world, and then for me to be a part of that in the middle on both sides and have these, I'm going to have them printed and framed.
Yeah, you should.
And if I get that picture with Arnold this year, I'm going to have that hopefully signed and put on there as well. Because, man, that was there's literally no better dream come true, in my opinion, than to have had that.
Yeah.
If I do nothing else in this industry, that'll be my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sure that's amazing, but I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot more in the future. That's probably even bigger. So especially with that,
I can't think of anything at the moment, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. But, once again, like I said, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. And then, before I let you go, is there anything that you want to plug, like a website, your Instagram, anything like that?
You know what? I would love for people to jump on my Instagram and follow me at Rock Lockridge, ROCKLOCKRIDGE. I don't do much on Twitter. I occasionally share stuff on LinkedIn, but Instagram is where I'm most busiest. All the sites I mentioned earlier, if you go to those sites, you've probably read my work.
Yeah.
If something you have read touched you or helped you, I'd love to know it, because, helping readers is kind of one of the main reason I do this. And, before we go, man, I got to ask you, what was your favorite part of this? Like this whole series that you watched, for you, what stood out the most?
I think, I kind of already touched on it a little bit, but I think the dedication aspect of it, cause you were doing you're doing everything as much to a T as possible. And then on top of that, you had the weather issues, you're in a barn, no spotter, this and that. So not only were you providing, dedication and, to yourself, but you're providing inspiration and motivation to everybody that was following along or reading or watching, whatever, however they were going about it. But I think that was the main thing, is it wasn't necessarily how much you were lifting or how many times or anything. It was like, he's doing it, and you did it, so. Yeah.
The sets or the weights weren't always there. Like there were days I just could not bench as much as I wanted to or curl as much as I wanted to, but I did not want to sacrifice a single set or a single rep.
Yeah.
They had to know I did it from start to finish. And, that's even why I grew my beard out for all 4 weeks, because I wanted them to show that was an actual month-long transformation. So yeah, I wanted to make sure it was as genuine and authentic as possible, because if people are going to get inspired by this, I wanted to know that there was something real that inspired them.
Yeah.
That they didn't get inspired by anything fake. So, I appreciate you sharing that, because I've been trying to get feedback from as many people as possible about, hey, what did you actually get out of this? Because I want to know I made a difference with it for anybody else.
Yeah.
This wasn't just about me. I didn't want it to be about me only from the start, because then that's shallow. And, we all get in this business to try to help make a difference for others. I know that's why you're in it. That's why I'm in it. When you go out later this year to Scotland, to get those Denny stones, I'm so looking forward to seeing that. It's there's going to be someone that you've never laid eyes on that's going to be inspired by that, and they're going to start moving forward, and you're going to be indirectly be credited for that. So that's the same thing with me with this or anything else I've done, to be able to reach other people and help enhance them.
Yeah, I think for me personally, that's the biggest. That's the thing I get the most enjoyment out of in the fitness community is setting a goal and achieving it. Like for me in particular, it's kind of more like challenges, like doing the Denny stones, or when I don't think I've even said it on this podcast, but when I was born with a chronic lung disease. And it wasn't really specified. It's basically like COPD without the genetic factor. And so I wasn't supposed to make it past like my 5th or 6th birthday. And so Yeah. And
How old
then
are you now?
I am in a month and a week, I will be 31. So yeah.
I think you beat the odds. I think you did a
Yeah.
pretty good job.
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
You got the over.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but, and I wasn't saying that to like kind of to brag, but I think that's been like a running theme throughout my life is constantly trying to overcome different things. And so I wasn't supposed to live past 6 or 5 or whatever. And then once I did that, in, I don't know the exact age, maybe 9 or 10 or something, I went back to the doctor kind of just as a follow up / tell them thank you / whatever. And they're like, wow, you like, that's one of the things they said. They're like, you made it. Like they didn't even, they're just like, huh, and then, they do some tests and they say, well, yeah, I mean, you still have some of these problems and all that, but if you watch your weight, your exercise and blah, 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 you'll be okay. But then they said, but they looked at my dad, don't ever let him play sports or anything that's going to overexert his lungs and stuff like that. And I was like, what? And, cause at the time I didn't even want to play football, but I said, I was kind of thrown off, like, oh, you're telling me something that I can't do, and so I was kind of flabbergasted, I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you're lucky to be alive. You're like, you're not going to be able to play sports or like run a marathon or anything like that. So I played football. I threw shot put. I did all that. And then, I got real big into weightlifting and bodybuilding and everything. I never planned on competing in bodybuilding or anything, but that's what really stuck fitness wise is weightlifting. And then, and they said I'd never do a marathon or anything. And I hate running, but for my 21st birthday, people are always like, oh, you're going to go drink. You're going to blah, 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 this and that. And I was like, no, I'm going to go do a marathon. And it was an actual marathon. It was a 5K, but yeah, me and my wife did a 5K, blasted through it. And it was a big deal,
And first of all, I love that story. And I'm so glad you shared that with me because man, high tide raises all ships. And, my ship is now going up because I got to just hear that. Yeah. Because, again, I'm going and lifting weights for 4 weeks. You weren't supposed to live past kindergarten. And here you are 25 years beyond that. And you're about to go do something that very few people that have ever walked this planet are going to do. So, man, that's a big freaking deal. That's inspiring. But something else that you had touched on that kind of stuck with me. You had said you didn't want to brag. Yeah. Number one, if it's the truth, you ain't bragging. Number two, if we are going to inspire other people or help them realize what they can do, they have to know what other people have done. So if there are people out there that have that kind of a story, I hope that they can actually step up and find a way to share it in a way that they feel comfortable doing it. Because again, it's not bragging. You're not trying to make yourself appear to be better than someone else. It's not a I'm better than you scenario. It's a, hey, I'm awesome. I want you to know that you're awesome. And if I was able to do this, then you can do this or do whatever it is you have your mind to. And you're just using the story as an example.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I want so many other people to try to do this because a lot of these people in this industry are looked at as stars or gods, and they're all looked up to. And, I used the Chris Bumstead example earlier. And Chris is a great guy. I'm not going to sit here and knock Chris Bumstead. I'm not even going to go into that direction. But there were people with mullets and mustaches, grown ass men that pay bills, drive cars and everything that were going around looking at Chris Bumstead, like this, like, oh my God, I can't believe it's him. And which is fine. That's awesome. That's great. But I hope they realize that they could probably find something that could make them just as awesome as C-Bum is. Yeah. And, if he's able to use his example as a 4-time Olympian champion to help inspire that, then that's the best thing he could do with his fame. And I think that's the best thing you and I could do with our platforms is use our successes to help other people achieve their successes. Yeah. So no, I did not consider it bragging on your part at all. As a matter of fact, I thank you for sharing it.
No, well, thank you. That's gave me a lot to think about, but shift my perspective on that a little bit. But yeah, thanks. I didn't mean to go into a tangent, but it was
no, man. I'm glad to have heard it.
Yeah. But all right, man. Well, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna let you go. But this just so you know, this podcast will drop on the 22nd, next Wednesday.
Okay.
And
great.
But I'll tag you and everything, and then also in the I'll put all of your links in the show notes, so people can access the because I really want them to read up on that series you did with the lifting like Arnold, and hopefully they can follow you from there.
Yeah, I'll make it easy on you. I will DM you on Instagram. I'll send you all 7 links to all 7 articles.
Yeah.
That way you can just go boom, 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 and call it a day. So, all right, cool, man. Gus, thanks again for everything. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and have a great night.
All right, man. Same to you.
All right,
see ya.
Bye.